Let's start with the question I always ask people. Like, the word authenticity is such a buzzword. You probably hear it all the time, but what does it mean to you when you hear that word?
Yeah, no, it's a good question, man. I think for me, man, it's about being unique, man, being yourself. I always say that, before you can lead people, you got to learn how to lead yourself first. What moves you, what motivates you, man. So for me, it's that, man. It's just about being true to yourself and true to who you are and true to your mission.
So I think a lot of who we are starts at a young age and has to do with like our family's expectations for us. So growing up, what sort of expectations did your family have for you?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. I think honestly, just thinking back to when I was a kid, man, it was just about being a good person, man. My parents never really put on me of like, I want you to do this career or I want you to do this with life, man. It was just about being a good person, man. Just respecting my elders, representing my family name in rooms that they're not in. And being that respectful, visitor, right? When you go over your friend's house, man, I'm gonna ask before I open that fridge, like, yo, can I get something? Can I get water? So I think for me, really like what my parents put in me, man, was just being a good person, man, which I think is really the foundation of everything that I'm doing today, man, and working for the community and giving back how I can. But it was that, man, like their only expectations to me, man, was that I was gonna be uh just a good person, man, and respectful.
What about how you showed up appearance wise? Were there any expectations around that?
Yeah, no, man. Like I definitely grew up in a household where, I would go outside, play for 7, 8 hours, come back dirty and sweaty. You know what I mean? But depending in the rooms that I was gonna step in, you know what I mean? If we were going to a family party, if we were going to church, man, there was always that appearance, man. There was always that, put on your nice shirt, man, put on those nice sneakers, or those sneakers are only for school. When you get home, you gotta put on your outside sneakers, man. But I think it was
Really?
just,
Your
yeah.
outside sneakers is hilarious.
Yeah, nah, for sure, because I'm one of 4 brothers, man, you know what I mean? So they weren't trying to buy 3, 4 pairs of sneakers throughout the year, man. So when you get that one pair of good sneakers, that's for school. You know what I mean? And then your old ones, that's the ones you're gonna go run around in the park with when you come out of school, man. But I think it's just that. And for me, what I've learned throughout the years that whether we like it or whether we agree with it or not, man, people judge you off your appearance, man. When you walk in, man, they judge you regarding how you hold yourself, how you present yourself. And sometimes it's even subconscious, right? It's not something that people do consciously, but people do judge you just by the way you show up into rooms.
When's the first time you remember being judged in that way?
Honestly, man, when I was younger, man, I grew up in the Villa Victoria, which is a Puerto Rican community in the South End of Boston. And, it was a low income community. I grew up, in that time, there was a lot of turf wars, a lot of drug wars going on. And I remember just being judged by police officers at that time, right? Because you're from a specific community or when we left the community and now we're in the $1 million brownstones, you could kind of see the looks you get because people know that you're just not from this side of the neighborhood, man. But all of that was always extra to me, man. None of that really mattered. I always knew I was different. Even in my own community, I was different, man. Like I had a lot of friends choosing paths that I didn't choose. And like, so even within the community, I felt like I was different.
What sort of things were you into as a kid as far as like, hobbies, interests, extracurricular activities?
Art, man. Art, man. Art was the therapy for me, man. I would draw, I would paint, I would, photography, man. There was just something about creating something out of nothing that I've always been drawn to, man. And I think it still lives true to the work I do today. But it was always about taking that blank piece of paper. And by the time you're done with it, now it has value. You can sell that piece of paper now, man, right? Like it was just a piece of paper at one point, but by the time you put your creativity on it, now it becomes a masterpiece. It becomes something worthy of putting on a wall, and I think just that process really shaped who I am today, man. It was always, about expressing myself, whether through poetry, whether through music, right? Taking that pain and turning it into gas and then pushing through the fire type of thing, man. So to me, it was always art, man. Art was a thing. And I loved music growing up, hip hop back in the day, that 90s classic hip hop, is really what I grew up with. So movies, going to movies. So it was always art, man. Just different kind of art forms is what really got me through life.
Yeah, but where did you get that from? Because I don't know your family, your brothers, your parents, your friends. Like, were they into art? Because you kind of alluded to like being different And I wonder if that was also a difference. Like, for a long time, like, were you the only one that was into that stuff?
Yeah, for sure. Like I think, my brothers were creative here and there, but I was definitely the artsy kid, man. I was definitely the artsy one, the creative one out of all my brothers. I got other brothers that were really stuck into the baseball, and stuff like that. But for me, it was always that, man. It was like I was always strong mentally. You know what I mean? Sports was never really my thing, man. I was never the best in any team that I was at, man. But individually, mentally is where my strength was at, that creativity, man. And for me, it was, this is before the cell phones, man. We're talking about before the cell phone. So it was like you got to figure out how to stay busy in the household, got to figure out how to keep your mind occupied, you know what I mean? And for me, again, it was that, man. I was just drawn to art. I wasn't School wasn't the biggest thing for me. I'll be honest with you. I wasn't the best scholar, but I would kill art class, man. That's the one space that I felt like I could dominate. That was the one space that I feel like I always had an upper hand on everybody around me, was the creativity. Then even when it came to science projects, on them, because it was the creativity that came with building something, with doing something. Anything that had to do with that creative process, I would find myself thriving. And I think naturally, as people, we gravitate towards these spaces that we know we thrive in. Right? So when I saw that creativity was my strength, anything that required creativity, I would kind of gravitate towards.
So how did you think about, in school and thinking about like what you wanted to do in the future early on? How did you balance this like pull that you're seeing of like, yo, this shit is I enjoy this shit versus people maybe telling you that that is not, and I'm just making this up. I don't know if this is your story, but it's often like arts are celebrated from like a consumerism standpoint. Like we all consume it, but rarely do we encourage the youth to go after those fields. You know what I mean? Like, did you get some of that early
That's
on?
definitely in my story, man. I remember telling people, and they'd be like, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I'll be like, I want to be an artist, or blah, blah. What do you really want to be when you grow up, man? You know what I mean?
Right.
And it was always that lack of
They're like,
acknowledgement.
do it on the side type shit, but like, what do you
Yeah,
actually wanna do?
exactly. Exactly, man. But for me, I'll be honest with you, school, like I said, I wasn't the best scholar growing up, man. I have a real interest in history with school, man. And it was just really get out of high school, man. It was just a fight to get out of high school. It was always that. Like for me, it was just like, yo, let's get out of high school and start working. You know what I mean? Like my father's one of the hardest working men that I know in my life, man. And it was just that for me. It was like I was ready to get to work, man. And for me, it was just like, how do we just get out of high school, man? How do we just get the high school diploma and get out there into the real world? And just always, like I said, I always gravitated towards it. It became my thing. I was that kid that I'll be drawing on my math test. You know what I mean? Like I just wouldn't stop. Like I'll just be made doodling everywhere, man. I even do that till today during meetings, but I'm listening though, and I'll respond and you'll call on me and I'll give you the best answer I can, but it's just how I keep my mind busy. It's almost like a fidget spinner, right? Just keeping that pen moving
I
and
was
like
just about to
and
say
like
that shit.
yeah, yeah, nah, and like it allows me to really keep thinking, right? It allows me to really follow what you're saying because I'm keeping my mind busy and I'm not letting my thoughts go scatter around and all that good stuff. So for me, it was that. I was just using that, and then fun fact, I ended up doing art with young people. That's another thing, man. I started working for public schools as an assistant teacher for an after-school program, and I would run all the art workshops. I would decorate the door every holiday. You know what I mean? Like I would just find ways to incorporate art in everything that I did growing up, and then I became that artist that was known in the school. So now I started doing workshops. So now I created my own curriculum. Other people started like, man, that workshop you did, I'll pay you to do it over here now. And I'm like, oh, for real? So I'm doing that now. And then it just started to kind of spiral into a whole career, man. And then I got stuck into the whole youth field, right? Working with young people of all different ages. I really found myself vibing with the teenagers, started honing in on that, started freelancing a lot of these workshops around the city for different community centers and community organizations. They'll bring me in as a facilitator for these art workshops, start incorporating everything else I was learning. How do we talk about mental health through art? How do we do civic engagement through art? How do we advocate through art? And then that started to expose me to this community organizing. And again, man, it's just like a picture, man. You start off with this blank page and you keep adding colors, you keep adding shapes to it, and it starts to take shape, right? The image. And that was the same thing with my life, man. It was a blank piece of paper, man. I couldn't tell you what it was gonna end up being like, but I just started keep adding in colors and keep adding shapes to my life and keep adding these experiences. And then next thing I knew, I was deep into youth work, and I was leading creative youth development programs, and then I started learning about leadership, man. And then I started to just kind of dive into all of that, man. And I think throughout years of doing that, it led to where I'm at today, man.
I think it's interesting, like early on, like you were eager to start working, right? And there, you
Yeah,
even
yeah.
said like, I just need to get through high school. Like, what about high school was so difficult for you, or and why were you so eager to work? Like, was it just like I just want my own money? Like, what was all that about?
Yeah, no, and I think honestly the answer to that question, man, is really what it makes me the youth expert I am today, man. Because not all young people are the same, man. You can't just sit a young person in front of a book and have them read something and then repeat this and take a test and then recite what we've been talking about. My mind didn't work like that, man. You know, it just didn't, man. My mind just was different. I needed something to intrigue me, man. Like I know this might go against popular opinion, but high school was just boring. It was just boring for me, man. It wasn't tapping into that creative part of my brain. It wasn't getting me intrigued. I wasn't getting excited about, you know, the closest
Man,
thing that I got in school was of me being really into it was history class. Outside of art, I loved me some history class, and it was that because it was tapping into that creative side of my brain of like all history and people and learning the past. But when it came to just numbers or English or science, it just really wasn't tapping into that piece of my brain, man. So it was hard for me to concentrate. It was hard for me to take things serious. Like I was one of those students who put it in plain English that if I wasn't interested in it, it was hard for me to even give it any kind of energy, man. But anything that I was interested in, I'm thriving. I'm killing it. You know
yeah,
what I mean? So it
yeah.
was just that. It's about just I just wasn't that into it, to be honest with you.
Yo, I envy kids these days because and you know, I don't know what school is like. I don't have like, you know, nieces or cousins that are like going through school right now. Well, they are, but like what I imagine is like so many alternative ways for people to take in information. Like I used to hate school because I'm one of those kids that I mean to this day I don't really enjoy reading that much. And like reading comprehension to me difficult. But if I could listen to that shit like audio, I could learn everything. But something like I would remember reading a page, like one page for hours because I would just be like reading a line and I would just be like reading, but I wouldn't remember anything.
That was
And like
me, man.
so
I
much
would have to jump back up to the top of the page again and read it again because I'll be
same,
like, I don't even know what I just consumed right now, man. I didn't pick
same.
none of this up, man.
Same. Like you're reading, but you're not processing it. And I think about kids these days potentially, or maybe like in the future, of like all of these different ways that they can actually like pick up information. But even you, right? Like what like when you were describing like doodling, I could imagine somebody or like a teacher, for example. Imagine like you're in class and the teacher is talking, you're over there like doodling and listening at the same time because that's what helps you process the information. I could imagine a teacher who isn't trained correctly looking at you and being like, he's misbehaving, he's distracted, he's not paying attention. When in reality, you're not. They just can't comprehend that you are processing this differently than anyone else in the room. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think that's the problem too with education. I think in a lot of the spaces, man, that is just like we think every young person is the same. We think every young person consumes information the same or processes information the same. And everybody's different to your point, right? You were audio, right? Like I'd rather hear it. There's other people that be like, I rather read it. Other people's like, I gotta write it. I gotta write it out loud. I gotta take notes, man, and go back to it and study. You know, so I think to your point, man, everybody like education is different with everybody, man. And I think those teachers in my life that were able to tap into me and really know that like, oh, he's here, man. He's just, you know, like instead of going this left, man, let's go right with him. And then we'll still get to the same location, man. You know what I mean? And I think is that, man. Like some people take the elevator, some people take the stairs, man, but we're gonna end up on the same floor type of thing, man. And I think teachers that are able to tap into that are God sent, you know what I mean?
Did you end up going to college or did you go straight into the workforce?
Yeah, man, that's actually interesting 'cause a lot of people see where I'm at with my career, man. They get surprised when I say I only got a high school diploma, man. I got a high school diploma. I
Mm.
did a few semesters of college and I dropped out. Again, it just wasn't hitting for me, man. I was the one that wanted to go to college and I wanted to dive straight into what I went to college for. But you know how you got to do the prerequisites and you got to do all this extra stuff. I was just like, man, I can't do this, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like if I go to college for art, I'm like, I want to you know what I mean? Or if
Yeah.
I go to college for something else, I wanna go straight into that, man. So for me, it became of like, yo, let's just get the experience, man. And it's beautiful, man, because that's actually what ended up being my strongest point, in my whole life. That's why when I got appointed by the mayor is because I've been doing youth work consecutively since 18 and I'm 37, man. So when you look around the city, who has more experience doing youth work than this guy? Right? Because it's like I've been doing it for almost 20 years now, man. And it's just all that experience that I was able to build, man, is really what ended up being my college degree.
Yeah, facts. I mean, I know people that have like undergrad, masters, and that's cool, but it's all theoretical, right? Like they'll graduate and they're like, yo, why can't I get a job? Well, you've never done any work. All of the shit that you only read, you've been reading books for 6 years. You feel me?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
that doesn't mean shit. So, like, if I was hiring somebody, I would much rather have someone with experience in doing something versus just like reading about the experience. So, I mean, I'm sure at this point in your career, you're like, all right, there's a certain level of confidence. But at the time, like, was that a difficult decision? Was there shame in it? Like,
Yeah, of course,
tell me
man.
about that.
I've been dealing with imposter syndrome my whole life, man. Even when I got appointed into this role, man, I was like, man, like I'm sitting around with people who got doctor's degrees and masters, and I got people on my team that I oversee that got masters, man. And I remember just sitting here like,
That's a crazy feeling.
I was just
You
like, yo, what am I
managing
doing
people
here,
that
man?
have
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They got way
that's
more education
crazy.
than me, man. But I think, what I mean, one of my mentors, man, God bless his soul, man. He's been my mentor since I was 12 years old. He's still my mentor today. He's actually my boss today, Jose Maso, man. Instrumental to me. I remember sitting down with him and having a heart to heart and being like, yo, I feel like I don't belong here. Like, what am I doing? Like, I think I bit too much. And then I remember him looking at me and just basically saying, man, like I'm exactly where I need to be right now, man. And to trust my knowledge and to trust where I'm at. And that's what I started tapping into, man. I was like, to your point, like, yeah, they got the degrees and I respect that, man. I've even considered going to college now that I'm older, more mature. I see education a little bit different now. So I've been exploring with the idea. What I realize is that no one has this experience. That's what I bring to the table. It's the experience, man. Is that I know what I know. Like I know what I know. You know what I mean? And I could speak from it from a lived experience, man. And one thing I learned too, and I'll tell you this quick story because I think it's beautiful, man. Before I got to the city, when I was gonna be working for this nonprofit, I remember sitting outside of the job interview, and there was a guy with a Harvard degree, and I almost walked out. I swear to God, I almost walked out and I was like, yeah, I'm good. Like, this guy's gonna get it, right? He got the Harvard degree, man. Of course, man. I just got this high school diploma. What am I doing here? About to step out. And the interviewer came out, pulled him in first and saw me. So then I didn't leave because I'm like, man, they saw me already, man. I can't just sneak out of this one, man. Let me just bang this one out. I did the job interview and I got a call the next day with the job offering, man. And I was shocked by that. But then like when I got comfortable with that job months later, I remember asking the hiring manager, like, yo, why did you guys go with me over the Harvard guy? Like I was really curious about that. And he said something I'll never forget, man. He was like, we could send you to school to learn what he knows, but there's no way we could send him to know what you know. You know what I mean? And that to me changed everything. That is like, oh, I get it. I get this now. And then that started to put confidence in me, man, in terms of just like, you know what I mean? I could go to school and get that master's, but you can't get the lived experience I got, man. You can't. I got 20 years worth of education that you can't pay for.
That's fucking deep, son. That's
Yeah,
deep.
it's a blessing, man. It's been a blessing, man. It's been a beautiful journey, man.
Man, I'm so proud of you, man. And
Nah, I
you you
appreciate you,
you
man.
are you are such a representation to just show people that like you don't need whatever you think you need. But I think that story is also like really powerful because the only reason you felt bad at the moment is because you were comparing yourself to the Harvard student. It had nothing to do with how you stacked up against the job application, right? Like, and I always think of this, like my therapist told me this one day. She was like, as humans, we always compare ourselves up, quote unquote, right? To people who seem to have more than us, right? So more followers, more education, more this, more that. Like by default, we're always going to feel bad about ourselves if we compare ourselves that way. So yeah, I just thought that was interesting as well because if you walked into that interview and there was no one sitting there, you wouldn't have had that doubt, right? Like, yo, it's just me. I'm interviewing whatever. But you just saw somebody there and you started like sizing yourself up.
Yeah, no, and I think the other part too that I think what always made me different, man, that I've learned with life is that I learned this from my father, man, that is like I'm gonna outwork everybody in the room. Like that's a promise. That's a promise. Like that's just in me, bro. Like I'm a workaholic. I'm a Capricorn. I love me some work, and for me, it's like, and like for me, I'm serious. I love work, bro. Like I love work. And then for me,
No,
it's
I'm
just
laughing
like,
at but
yeah,
okay.
yeah, nah, for real. And for me, it's just like, honestly, it's just like that was just embedded in me, bro. I'm always gonna outwork everybody in the room for a fact, man. And that was always part of me, man. Even when I got my first full-time job as a lifeguard, I ended up worked there for 7 years. I ended up being the head lifeguard and running the pool. When I got that program I told you about, the nonprofit, I came in as a program coordinator. I finished off 7 years later as the director of that youth program. You know what I mean? When I got to, when I worked for BPS, I came in as an assistant teacher. I left the director of the before and after school program. So it's just like that, like that's just in me. Everywhere I go is like I'm stepping it up always, man. Like I'm gonna outwork myself. I'm gonna learn not just my role, but the role above me, right? And master that and ask questions and just always be of value in every room I step in, man. Like I want people to feel my absence when I'm not there. You know what I mean? Like if I call out a day, man, I want you to feel that. Like, like I could tell the difference when this kid's not here, man. I could tell the difference when Pedro's not here. And that's always driven me, man, in everything I do. And even till today, man, I came to the city. I got this goal of like you gotta launch an office that doesn't exist. There's no manual, there's no blueprint. And I was just like, yo, it's work time. It's work time. And for me, it's just been that, man. It's just outworking everybody around me, man.
That's a bar. I want you to feel my absence when I'm not there. Ooh, I'm stealing that.
Yeah, nah, take that one, man.
Yo, I'm curious as well, right? Because you mentioned imposter syndrome. When did you feel comfortable bringing your own swag to work? Because there's a lot of things you're wearing or have on today that I can't imagine you as a youngin going to church. Your family's like, oh yeah, that's cool. You know what I mean? Like the accessories, the earrings, all of those sort of things. Like, when did you feel comfortable bringing that out?
I think for me, it was working with the young people, man. Like working with young people throughout my whole life, man. Like young people would bring out a different energy in you, man. Like you gotta, like young people know when you're bullshitting, man. Young people know when you're lying, man. Like young people know when a grown up is just trying to be cool and that, you know what I mean? So like I've learned that you just gotta be yourself around these kids, man, in order to really tap into them. And that
You got
just
called.
takes it.
You got roasted one day.
Come on, man. I grew up in the hood, man. I grew up in the hood. There was nothing but roast sessions, man. It was nothing but roast, man, sessions. But
No, I'm saying, like, you went into work one day and the kids was like, "Yo, why you dressed like that?" Then you started being more yourself. Like,
nah,
what
not
happened?
even, not for me. It was just like that's what got me to be like, like a lot of people say, like, I was like, again, like one of the best youth workers you're ever gonna find, man. Because I've always been authentic, is what I'm saying, man. You know what I mean? Like I
So
never
you've
showed up.
never what?
I've been myself since day one, bro. I've been wearing earrings since I've been a kid. I've been rocking braces instead of gold, man. Like that's just been my swag since I've been little, man. Like I was that little kid with like 6, 7 rubber bands for no reason on the wrist and just running around with it. Like, and it just kind of transferred over, man. And I think people around me just showing me love, man. Like, oh, I love your braces, or I like your earrings, stuff like that. It just always gave me that confirmation, man, that I'm doing something right. I'm standing out. I'm standing out in a room, right? Like right now, I work in City Hall. Everybody's wearing suits. Everybody's wearing the same thing, and it's almost like a cookie cutter image. You know what I mean? But then when I show up in the room and I got the braces, I got the earrings, it just kind of, it's me, man. It's Pedro.
That's fascinating though that you didn't feel the pressure to not be like that, right? Because at least for me, like when I had the imposter syndrome, and I think the interesting part is that like no one told me necessarily when I was at work, like, hey, you need to do this and that. I told myself that. I just looked around and I was like, oh, well, if I want to be successful, I should probably be like them because they're successful, right? It's fascinating that you just had this like internal confidence. It's like, oh, this is me. Fuck it. Like,
Yeah, no, honestly, because I think for me, man, and this might be a little deep, man, but for me, it was just like I never had what, like to your point, right? That is like, man, if I dress like this or if I be like this, then I'm gonna be successful. I didn't have what this was, right? Like if they were dressing a certain way, I couldn't afford that clothing, man. So I had to make with what I got. You know what I mean? If I saw that the guys around the hood was rocking the jewelries and the cars, I didn't have the jewelries or cars to go match with them, man. So it's like I was always, again, just doing with what I got, man. I grew up in a household where it was like hand-me-downs, and you get that one pair of sneakers for the whole school year. So I was never that kid showing up with the coolest sneakers at home, man. So again, like I think for me, it was always about, since I was young, man, I've been challenged to create presence, man, to establish my presence, man, and not based off what I'm wearing, not based off what I'm doing, but I've been challenged since I was little. Like, how am I gonna stand out? How am I gonna stand out, man? And it's always been my energy again, man. That's why it's like, the same way that You want people to feel your absence. You want people to feel your presence too, man. Like when you walk in, man, you want people to feel that shift in the energy in the room real quick, man. You know what I mean? And for me, it's always been that. It's just always been like I gotta do more with less.
I love that, man. Shout out to you. I mean, that's the type of energy that I want from more people. And I think it's so dope that you do so much work with youth these days because they get to see you at an early point in their life. Because I think oftentimes it's the opposite. I feel like people don't see someone like you until later in life. Someone that is confident in being themselves and have such a, a fire dope position, right? So, but why youth? Why did you decide or want or even continue to work with youth?
Yeah, for me, man, I'll tell you this, man. Like I said, I was always a history buff. Always loved history, man, and I've always been fascinated about us, talking about people that lived 100 years ago. And I'm like, damn, this person did something so fire. This person did something so impactful that we still talking about him. And I think I've been drawn to that since I was little. Like I always wanted to be somebody, man. I want to do something, man. I want to impact the world. And I think again, what started off as a summer job and working at camps, man, I started to seeing my impact on young people, man, and just for me, what started driving it is when you'll see a kid that you probably worked with 3 years ago and they still reciting stuff that you told them and they still doing stuff that you taught them. And then that's when I was like, oh, this feels fire. They're like, this feels good. Like seeing that impact on somebody started to really be like the motivator, man. And then the more you do it, the more impact you see, the more people that are coming to you and telling you about your impact. And it just became this like big ball of validation, man, that I got addicted to. I got addicted to impacting people's lives, man. I got addicted to people coming to me and being like, man, you inspired me to do this. You inspired me to do that. Or I saw you over here, or I saw what you did over there. And that to me became addicted. Like, to be honest with you, I became addicted to that. To just that feeling I got every time that I impacted somebody's life for good, man. It's just that became an addictive feeling, to be honest with you.
Like the constant reminder that your work is purposeful.
Yeah, yeah, every day, man, every day, and that's the thing with youth work, man. You'll be lucky, like they call it the unicorn, man. You'll be lucky if you see your impact on a kid, man. Sometimes, you'll work with a kid now and you probably won't see him again for 20, 30 years and you don't even know the impact you had on them. So for me to even see it so much, man, I started to be like, man, like I'm seeing this unicorn every other week. Well, like this is crazy to me, man. And it's just for me too. And it's tied to my own story, man. My mentor has been my mentor since I was 12 years old, man. So it's just like I saw the impact that had on me. You know what I mean? I saw the impact that I always say spaces and relationships is what save lives, man. The spaces that we expose young people to and the relationships we build in those spaces, man. And that's what it was for me, man. Like the spaces I was given and the relationship I made in those spaces, which is my mentor, saved my life, man. You know what I mean? I was deciding to go to the community center instead of hanging out in the corner. I started to follow my mentor instead of following that drug dealer in the corner. And it's that, man. So it's like I know what it did to me. And I feel like every young person should have the opportunities, resources, support, and love that I had growing up.
I agree, man. I think like that was mind blowing to me when you said that. That you've been with the same mentor since that young. Like imagine if everybody had somebody like that,
Yeah.
that type of support. And I think, you're not just working with the youth. I also love, and I don't know if this was like off mic or on mic, but like you mentioned how Boston many times is like the first in many ways. And I think that ties in so well to like you being such a history buff, but also the work that you're doing now, and even like the office within the mayor's office that you're working in, like they don't have that in a lot of cities. So like the impact that you're making and what you're building and creating, like it has the potential to be replicated nationally, maybe globally. I'm sure that gets you excited as well.
No, 100%, man. Like I said too, I'm a Boston kid, man, born and raised, man. Like I was the first of my brothers to be born here, and my parents came from Puerto Rico, bro. And for me, it's been that I got that energy in me, man. I got that dog in me in terms of like Boston being the first that like I said, man, first public park, first public school, first library. first public garden, first fire department, first police station. For me, it's like I've always wanted to be part of that story, man. Like I want to be part of that story, and I got the opportunity to do that with the work I'm doing now, man. And that's what drove me. Like I said, I love work. I love a challenge. I love young people. I love building. I love creativity. Give me a blank piece of paper and I'm gonna turn it into something. So I felt like my whole life I've been working towards where I'm at now, man. Like everything makes sense all of a sudden. All that creativity, creative energy I had, all that hunger to be somebody, that hunger to make impact, that experience working with young people, all of a sudden all these ingredients came together, man. It's like the planets aligned. And that's what I've been doing. Like these last 2.5 years, I tell people all the time, this is my dream job, man. Like I'm living my wildest dreams right now, man. Like this is the best job I've ever had. Like the most fun I've ever had working, like, just being able to build is like I've been able to put all these life experiences to play now, like all that creative energy, like build something out of nothing, working with young people, being a leader. I'm trying to make impact that's gonna outlast me. Like all of that for just came into one out of nowhere, man. And just like I've been able to really put it's like I've been practicing my whole life and now I'm in the big leagues. Like now I'm actually playing the game.